Hello! Somehow, Challenger League has returned.
Wait, do we believe this?
Okay, well not yet, but that does mean that for the EU, open qualifiers are being announced very soon. So I want to speculate about what Challenger League 2022 will look like, and turn an eye towards the tier 3 teams that are competing in the national circuit in EU, and see who's cutting the European mustard. It's a very weird saying. Who cuts mustard? Before I get going, I just want to make it very clear that a lot of what I say in this video is going to be a mixture of fact and opinion. Some of it's second or third hand information, and I'm going to try to be clear about when it's only rumour or speculation. So don't come at me. Let's start with some facts. First off, as many of you will know, the European League is Europe's tier 1 competition, and that has one way in. Promotion from the European Challenger League, or CL, which is our tier 2 competition. The format of Challenger League has undergone multiple iterations, which we'll get to. But since the introduction of the tier 3 national system in Europe in 2020, the way into Challenger League has been very clear. Either you win your Nationals League, / do well enough at it, because sometimes EUL teams like to compete, or you go through the open qualifiers. Anyone can enter the... Oh my god. Anyone can enter the open qualifiers, and unlike the national leagues, rosters aren't bound by nationality or residency requirements, so you get more mixed rosters going for them occasionally. Usually, every national league team will also have a go in the open qualifiers if they can, because it's just an extra chance to get into Challenger League. So, with that all out the way, what do we know about Challenger League in 2022? Well, here's what we've been going off as a base assumption with the minimal amount of change. We're going to have 16 teams, including Ex-Heroic, which, yes, they're the ones that literally got left out on the streets by Train Hard after they went under and subsequently were relegated from EU, and 2021's almost team, the previously Russian Hellraisers side that lost out to Secret in relegations last year. Quite what state these two rosters are going to be in by the time autumn comes around is anyone's guess. This should leave 14 spots open, with 6 coming from open qualifiers and the remaining 8 coming from various national leagues. NPL get 2 spots because UK massive. At the end of it all, either 1 or 2 teams from Challenger League will be promoted. This is what's currently listed on Wikipedia, and we have no direct reasons to assume otherwise. However, Ubisoft seem to have gone quiet. On the Ubisoft website's European League Stage 1 announcement posted on the 21st of March this year, there is a section at the end which simply states, starting dates and updates will be announced in the upcoming weeks. That is 8 weeks ago now at the current time of recording. I'm expecting something real soon. By this time last year, we would already have had one of the 3 open qualifier cups. The lack of any announcement even leads me and others to believe that, first of all, the open qualifiers will start later, obviously. Second, it might not be as long and drawn out as last year's open qualifiers were. And third, there may be a rebalancing of the number of teams competing in open qualifiers and participating in Challenger League as a whole. Which would mean new format? This is all wild speculation, but to be honest, I really hope it's true. Since the introduction of the national system, in my opinion, we have not had a satisfying and competitively balanced Challenger League format. It was radically different in 2021 compared to 2020, and given the many problems with last year's format, I would expect a revamp to have been high on the agenda of the Rainbow Six Esports management team. But what can we expect to see? If Ubisoft want to take previous years as an inspiration, we've had some pretty naff formats before last year as well. Back in 2020, when Kavana won the whole thing, they had to contend with 12 teams competing in 2 6-team mini-groups, which is okay, I suppose, to determine who filled out an 8-team single elimination bracket. Nah. Before that, in 2019, we had 8 teams competing in a full double round robin, which isn't the worst format, but it would be tight on time unless you had numerous super weeks if you wanted to fit it into a single stage. There's also the added factor that 8 teams are coming from the national leagues alone, plus you have the 2 in Ex-Heroic and Hellraisers, so taking time frame into consideration, a full single round robin would work best with 10 or 12 teams, followed by playoffs, finals, whatever you want to call it. I think this is probably what a lot of people want. Challenger League should be a league, right? Not a tourney, not a cup, but a round-robin league. It should mirror the style of competition in Tier 1 in EUL. Hell, Tier 3 already mirrors the style of competition in Tier 1 at EUL, and it does pretty well for the most part. It brings stability, legitimacy, and weight to the competition. If it could run all year long, that would be amazing, but that would probably take some shuffling of national leagues and rejigging the calendar. That's a thought maybe for next year. A 12-team full round robin is what I'm praying for. The implications of this would be that the open qualifiers only source 2 teams, not 6. I don't see UB dropping open qualifiers entirely and running a 10-team league, since that would exclude any rosters comprising a majority of players from a lot of European nations entirely. I would like to imagine I'm not too far off with these assumptions and guesses. Of course, I'm aware at this point this video realistically isn't going to have any actual influence. All of these decisions will probably have already been made, and there are most likely a handful of people who have more info than I do just watching and laughing about how right or wrong I am. For anything that's as of yet undecided, I'm also under no illusions about how powerful and influential a Rainbow Six caster I am. I'm neither of those things. Now, let's talk about teams. The National Leagues are well underway for the most part, and we're starting to get a sense of which teams are likely to be challenging for those CL spots. What's worth remembering here is that any league could theoretically see several of its teams inside of CL. Because of open qualifiers last time, we had an abundance of French and German sides who made it in, although every German team is knocked out in groups. There's often a lot of debate about which national leagues in the EU are the strongest or the best. Here's my tier list. I don't think it's difficult to argue this really. Recent graduates from Challenger League have included M&M, Kavana, the now heroic roster, and before that BDS and Forza. So you can see why it has a reputation for being one of the most stacked tier 2 scenes alone, but realistically you're looking at the UK, French and Russian, potentially German scene to provide those upcomers. Every year when the EUL starts, there's a feeding frenzy as the teams look to poach as much Challenger League talent as possible. So even if your team doesn't win, it's still a route for players to the very top. 4 of the 5 Hellraisers roster have moved on up to EUL following the fallout from the Empire and Virtus Pro situation, despite losing out on direct promotion to M&M. And there are star players from lower placed teams like Mowgli who have been lighting up EUL right now, all off the back of Challenger League performances. Love him or hate him, Super makes some good points sometimes. But enough stalling. Here are my picks for teams to watch out for in the scrap for Challenger League spots. To make this easier, I'm going to go through the national scenes in roughly descending order of power ranking. As a side note, some of these leagues have had an entire first split in their double round robin. Some of them have only had 3 matches before the break for the Charlotte Major, so there's a bit of guesswork going on in some cases. I'm going to start with NPL. This is the league that I can speak with the most authority on. For those unaware, the Northern Premier League is a result of a merger between the UK and Ireland Nationals and the Nordic region, previously assumed to be the sort of top and bottom of the Nationals League ladder. At the moment, Victus and Ambush are the standouts from the opening split of NPL. Victus coming up from UKIN 2 and upgrading their roster with the likes of Flexi and Skeptic, and Ambush, who have been around in Nordics for a long time and have just barely missed out on Challenger League in previous seasons, and they're looking really good right now. There are 3 distinct tiers of team that have appeared in NPL since Navi's recent departure, but the top 6 can all reach finals, so when it gets to best of 3s, we might have a very different lay of the land. The mostly new look Viperio 86 featuring Astro do deserve a shout, as well as 10-star and to a lesser extent M&M Academy, but they've been a bit inconsistent, and they might need to start thinking about prioritizing qualification through the open qualifiers in order to maximize their chances. I know I've just listed 5 of the 9 teams competing in NPL, but it seriously is a stacked region, so any of them could make it. The French Nationals have only had 3 games so far, but we know they're a strong region. My prime picks are the only teams currently without a loss, Death Row and Helios, sorry demo. Yes, they are the teams that made it to Challenger League last time, so pretty safe bets. Oka Corp are also worth a look. This is the old Reply Totem roster, but they are without Mowgli. They've won 1 game against LFO, which is impressive, but they've lost another 2. So they have potential for certain. It's just a case of seeing whether they have that consistency. Again, early doors, very much worth keeping an eye on. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed that I didn't include the Russian Major League in my tier list, and that is, of course, because it got cancelled for reasons that should be fairly clear. That said, there are a lot of very talented Russian players out there, and the relative success of the region in Tier 2 ever since the old Empire came to the fore shouldn't be understated. There will be Russian majority teams whose sole focus will be on qualifying the only way they now can through the open qualifiers. They could have the biggest surprise factor going into this. The new Cherty lineup have won a couple of First Blood tournaments recently. I wouldn't put too much weight on that, but possibly worth looking out for. Hi, just recording this bit on another day. I need to correct something I said when I was recording yesterday. So at this point, I did bring up Hellraisers and how they fit into this, but I missed out some crucial details. They are vocally anti-war, which I knew, and currently hold the license for a CL spot, as do X-Heroic, but they have relocated from Russia to Serbia. In yesterday's script, I said they might naturally look to pick up young Russian talent, but I think that's probably an unfair assumption to make now given the circumstance. Even without qualifying, the Open Quals and occasional standalone tournament will serve as a place for young talent to market themselves to both Hellraisers and X-Heroic. On to GSA. Wild, at the moment, look like favourites, backing up an already talented core with Rogue Vet, Corey and Aces, but early on it's worth keeping an eye on Enix, the former Ghost Skiller roster knocked out in groups last time, who have since added Draven to their roster, and Team Alpha, the old GC core that only just fell short of Challenger League last time. Again, GSA only 3 games in, but these are the teams at the top. Ovation, they seem to be on a bit of a slump, but we know that they've reached CL before, so don't write them off either. Now onto the regions that have historically ranked a bit lower and therefore need to rely a bit more on winning their national leagues. A lot of these are already very clear cut, and I'm virtually assuming at this point that open qual spots will be reduced, so I won't spend too much time on these guys. Over in Benelux, Jailings, the team flying the banner of Manchester United's Jesse Lingard, have had a flawless split. Apparently they want to qualify through open quals preferably so that they can fit the Turkish Turco into their primary lineup. The wildcard in this league are second place Activity, who happen to have Cactus of previous Vitality fame. In the poorly named Spanish Nationals, which of course includes Portugal, it's been a flawless first half to the season for the Rebels, who are once again the team we expect to see in Challenger League. They are no longer in Comic Sans and have the backing of Manchester United's David De Gea. We're starting to see a theme here. Also, they have some guy called Goga who's apparently quite good. Last but not least of the Spanish Nationals, the newly formed V4 region made up of Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic and Slovakia, which... Okay, so I did some more digging, and realistically the Kayit roster are standouts, merging some of the old Riddle lineup that made CL through Nordics last year with a promising Czech duo of Grun and Hunt. It looks like a strong roster, but they haven't actually qualified yet. Hurry up! Anonymo are also perhaps contenders for the V4 spot, but this is all pretty much on paper because V4's not started yet. Okay, so I've just put all my equipment away and realised that I didn't record the bit for PG Nats. I didn't even script it for some reason, just completely went over my head. But I did do the research for it. Matchco right now are completely wiping the floor with everyone in that league, including Makers, so they're my ones to watch. Okay, sorry Italy, back to the video. It's all far too early to say who will be the real contenders for winning Challenger League, so I won't. I appear to have run out of things to say. Whew, blimey. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. This is new territory for me, but I'm open to making more of these types of videos. There aren't really many videos like this being made about EU right now outside of Tier 1, and I feel pretty well positioned to give my say on these topics with some degree of authority. If there are any others out there who want to make this kind of stuff,
do not attempt it, I will monopolise the market.
I'm going to say something somewhat unusual for YouTube. I don't really care about likes and subscribers, but what I do care about is hearing from you in the comments. I would love to hear any teams you think I'm sleeping on, further speculation about the Challenger League format, etc. I just want to see some discussions arise from this video. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed, and fingers crossed that all of our speculation about Challenger League will become redundant fairly soon. Goodbye.